So, all right, everybody, I want to welcome you to learn how to increase your Udemy revenue. And this is a discussion with what I consider the experts on udemy.com. And I'm very grateful to have them with me today. And we've got names across the bottom except for Alun there. So first off is Alun Hill, and he's coming to us live from Spain today. And then we've got Grant Weherley, and I hope I said your last name right, Grant. And Grant is in Thailand, and I'm jealous because I love Thai food. We've got Matt Bernstein, who is out there. Are you in Boston or in like the Boston area?
I'm in Boston. I'm in a neighborhood. It's called Brighton, and it's like 3 miles away from Fenway Park. So.
Cool. And then we've also got Rob Cubbon. Did I say your last name right, Rob?
That's good, Dennis. Thank you.
Good. And he's coming to us also from Thailand and originally from London, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm coming to you live from a very frigid southern Idaho near Boise. I want to go ahead and say welcome, everyone, and I'm going to have you kind of introduce yourself, give a brief introduction of what you do, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I do, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So, Alun, let's go ahead and get started with you first.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Very good day to everybody. I'm actually better known as excuse me, as a journalist. I've done many years traveling, reporting for TV and radio around the world on travel and business. So got into Udemy almost by mistake about 2 years ago by accident. But I'm best known as a journalist, but my sales on Udemy now. I say Udemy, I know the people say it differently, and Udemy tell me off for that. I still got to say it with my English accent, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you would. Every time I tell somebody Udemy, they're like, new to me? And I'm like, no, Udemy, like you and Academy. So, Grant, Go ahead. Welcome, Alun.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Grant Weherley. I'm an entrepreneur. I have courses on Udemy for about a year now. And I think the best thing that I hope to contribute to this discussion is that beyond my own courses, I work with other instructors to help them build their own courses or help them with their marketing and their optimization on Udemy if they have courses that are live that are really making sales. So that's what I hope to bring to the table, is that kind of perspective of a variety of courses, a variety of niches, a variety of different instructors, and sort of how that's worked for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Grant. And Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt Bernstein, and from Low Cost Hustle, and I guess what that would mean would be to start businesses on the internet that have low upfront costs and kind of set yourself up for success. And in college, I managed to make $24,000 profit my junior and senior year while I was getting my communication degree at UMass Amherst. And I kind of stumbled upon Udemy as well in January and started from scratch, didn't really know what I was doing, and now I'm here and just trying to help other instructors out.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Welcome. And Rob.
Yeah, hi, my name's Rob Cubbon. I blog out of robcubbon.com, and I was a graphic designer I did very bad jobs. I was just freelancing, doing some menial typesetting on company reports, and then I managed to set up my own website and run my own graphic design business, and blogged and started to sell products from the website, and Udemy came to me as another sort of arm of a content management strategy, and even a lead generation strategy. So my courses have been on graphic design, web design, but also now moving into selling digital products online and online marketing.
I know that you have a lot of stuff out there because I actually have a couple of your books that I've downloaded, both actually paid and for free, because I know that you have one out right now on WordPress, and so I've been following you for a while and following all of these guys on the Udemy Studio group, which is on Facebook, and it's a great resource if you're just getting started with Udemy. Myself, I'm Dennis Smith, and I have DennisJSmith.com, and I've been doing social media for a while. I've actually been on Facebook since 2007, which doesn't seem like a long time ago, but it really is when you consider where Facebook is now with over 1 billion users worldwide. And I wrote a book on social media a couple of years ago, and I started thinking about, much like Rob, like digital marketing, how can I expand my products to bring in additional revenue? I've been a retail store manager, I've worked at call centers, and I'm sick of the corporate world and trying to convince my parents that I don't need to have a normal job, that I can make enough money to get by selling stuff online. And I came across Udemy earlier this year, but it wasn't until July that I launched my first course. And so today what we're going to talk about is that I want to help other instructors like myself who might be just starting to get some advice on how you can be successful on this platform. We've got 4 guys here that I know have been very successful on the platform. I have started making some income. I'm starting to see an increase in the things that I'm doing. So we're just kind of going to go through some questions as we go, and we'll start with Alun. We'll just kind of move on through to kind of keep things organized. The first question really I wanted to know is, like, what brought you to Udemy.com, and how long have you guys been on the site so far?
Okay, I started my first course on Udemy 2.25 years ago, but I did nothing with it until excuse me, January or February of this year, of 2014. I did a course recorded in the corner of my living room, and I lived in England then, about selling stock photographs, so taking photographs, going out and selling them to stock agencies. And did the course, put it up, did nothing with it, and earned a few $100s each month, but didn't do much with it. And in January of this year, started looking at promoting it and adding more courses. And so far this year, I've done, by any standards, very, very well indeed. But I've looked at what makes Udemy work, what the students want, what Udemy wants, and by following what I think are the rules, and we may not all agree on those, but certainly what works for me, answers. And I'm on about $150,000 this year so far, as at the middle of November. But not a bad year from a few hundred in previous things.
That's absolutely amazing when you consider, like, where I live at. Actually, I feel like I work here. In the Boise area, the average salary, I think, is like maybe $40,000 a year or something like that, and the minimum wage in the state of Idaho is $7.25 an hour. So when you see what you've accomplished, it's quite amazing.
If you also think in the area I live in, one of the better areas of Spain, I'm on the Costa del Sol, right down the bottom, and it's in the 80s today in November, which is still weird to me, as I'm used to November in the fog and snow in England. But something like half of the people here under the age of 25 have never worked. And of the people who do work, there's entire families living on about $185 a month, sorry, $200 a month, 185 euros a month. And although there's a lot of tourism here in summer it's very busy and there's plenty of work and things for lots of people, but for 9 months of the year, Spain is still in a poor state compared with most of Europe, most of the world.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about things like Udemy and Kindle books and things like that. And when you talk about your Chromebook, how affordable some of those tools are getting, and internet connections, that it's very possible for someone to be successful no matter where they live. And travel, like, Grant is from Kentucky, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you're in Thailand right now. So when did you get started? How long have you been on this site?
So it's just under a year. And the reason I originally got started with it was I actually had been working on an online course that I was trying to like set up my own marketing funnels, have it externally, like create a website around it, et cetera, et cetera. And was finding that was just so ridiculously hard because it was actually like the first business I was ever starting. I didn't really know anything about marketing, setting websites, et cetera. I was trying to teach myself how to do all of that, let alone like actually making the course and stuff. I just kind of ran with the idea, and I was finding it like it was moving along, but really slowly because there's just so many variables to that type of thing. And then just kind of through that process and really struggling with that, I just randomly read a blog post. I think a friend sent it to me about Udemy, about one guy's experience. I think it was Scott Britton, actually. He has a really good blog post about his experience on Udemy. And I read that, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool platform. I wonder if that would be a good fit for what I'm doing. And so I, just transferred it over, tried it out, and started trying both, and then found that, wow, okay, this is a lot easier than what I was trying to do. This cuts out like half the variables. And at first, obviously, it wasn't super profitable, like I'm sure most of our stories are. The first couple of months doesn't make a lot of money, but it quickly did start to make money and was much simpler, and then lets you frees up your time to scale, make more courses, things like that. So that's kind of how I got started, and fortunately, quickly allowed me to end up traveling while doing that most of this past year, actually. So.
Awesome. I guess that's what's comforting for me is that, I've only been on the platform since July, and so I'm always challenging myself to make more than the last month, and I'm like thinking, oh my God, I'm not making enough, but then I look at, what some of the other people started out with, and it's kind of cool, that I know that we'll get there. So Matt and I were talking earlier as I was waking up, and we were talking about you've only been on the platform since January of this year, correct?
Yeah, January 2014, and actually I was lucky enough to be featured in one of Udemy's $10 promotions, and I made just over $1,400. And then the next month in February, they didn't have a $10 promotion, so I only made $230. But
oh no!
and I was kind of lucky enough because I don't know if anyone knows Noah Kagan. He runs AppSumo, who claims to have over 500,000 email subscribers. He worked for Facebook, Mint, and he came out with this free email product to join his email list, and it was about validating your information products or physical products. And one of the ways that he did that was through Udemy. And the way that he set it up was he would go to Udemy, and for his example, he used somebody's productivity with the Gmail account, and he was like, oh, this guy sold 1,000 courses for $49. So, I mean, I didn't know that probably most of those students were free at the time, but I'm glad that he didn't necessarily mention how Udemy worked in the beginning, because I look at people like you guys, and I know that you guys are able to make a decent living. Obviously, Alun's been been very lucrative with Udemy, so I kind of get to know what's possible and everything else, and I kind of just base my success and try to emulate you guys as much as possible. So as we speak, I just crossed the $20,000 profit threshold for this year, so I'm kind of happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I like about all of you guys is that you're pretty open with what you're doing. I know that, Rob, that actually I think it's each quarter that you write kind of like an income report, and I first discovered that. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with Pat Flynn with Smart Passive Income, and he's very open with his income. And so, Rob, I know that you're open with what you're doing as far as your book sell and your courses, and I've seen that increase with your Udemy courses. I think that I was looking earlier on your profile, and you have, let's see, 11 courses now with 4,300 students. You know the town that I live in has a population of not 4,600. Gosh, I can't even think this morning, but anyway, you have about the same amount of students as the town does population. So how long have you been on Udemy?
Yeah, well, it would be less than 2 years. So I think I started my first course at the beginning of 2013, and we're now nearly at the end of 2014. And to answer your question, actually, we all came at it randomly. I had a friend called Tara Roskel in the UK, and she's a graphic designer, and she writes graphicdesignblog.co.uk, and she put a course up there called How to Design a Logo, a beginner's course, and we were on a Skype chat, and she told me some of the money that she'd been making. She was incredibly successful. It's a big course on Udemy, very successful course, and when I heard how well she was doing, I'd also been on YouTube at the time, and so because of that, I decided to put some of my YouTube stuff up on Udemy, which you can do. You can make free courses on Udemy from stuff that's already on YouTube, and if the stuff on YouTube can be condensed into a course of half an hour, there's a free course right there. So that's how I got some of the population of Boise, Ohio, on my courses.
Yeah, you're cracking me up because that's one of the things. Typically, people, it's like either Ohio, Iowa, but it's Idaho. Think of potatoes.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
That's okay. I live here, and I probably would make the same mistake. So let's just briefly talk about what you like. We'll start with Alun. What do you remember what you made the first month?
Yes, I actually got it printed out here. $8.34. But the next
You can't
month,
even buy a cup of coffee with that in most places.
in England. Well, the next month I did nearly $13.
Awesome. And
Down. So I decided, despite the fact that I'd seen that somebody had 10,000 students at $300 a piece, I now know also that they were all free. So I let it go for about 18 months, and even in January of this year, and I've just moved the piece of paper, but yeah, January of this year, I made $703, and I was a very happy sausage with that. That was a good month. In December last year, I made $209. So this year, $703 in January was something what I'd made in. Well, it was more than I made in the whole of the previous year. So that was a good start.
Wow. So I'll have to make that my goal in January of 2015, which amazing that we're already there. It always scares me that when the new year comes up, you know, a lot of us, we go through and we think about the goals that we're setting. Well, my birthday falls on the 4th of January, so not only am I dealing with the new year, I'm also reflecting like, oh my God, I'm turning another year older, and what did I accomplish last year? So I don't like having a birthday at the beginning of the new year. But anyway, Grant, do you remember what you did?
Yeah, I looked it up as well. It wasn't 34 cents, but it was $34. So pretty low, but apparently Alan beats me that way. So yeah, that was not the best first month, but from there actually it was pretty like linear exponential growth there. Went from 34 to like 300 something to 700 something. So it got up there pretty quickly because I was actually, I know a lot of people probably put their courses up and they don't really focus on it 100%. So I did. As soon as I put it up there, I was really hitting it hard. So even then, the first month still only $34. But I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to get it up a bit quicker than a lot of people. It's like very slow, and then all of a sudden it kind of takes off. So I think that's something that there's something to be said for that. Like there's always something you can do to make things go faster if you have the capacity to focus on to really focusing on your Udemy courses. But actually, I have a question for Alan, if you don't mind me like having a cross question.
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
I'm just curious about like there's some point in like your revenue earnings where it goes like from reasonable to like all of a sudden really ridiculous. I'm curious if you have any idea what was that little point where like the graph shoots up. Like, was there a specific event, like a release of several courses? I'd love to know about that.
Okay. If I cover January, February, March of this year, shall you what the figures were. and what I did. That would probably help you. So we know that January was $703.75, and I was very happy about that. I started in January to start looking at this seriously. I'd been married a year for the first time in my life and thought, better do something serious. And I wanted to stay in Spain and stay in the sunshine. So I started looking quite intensely at what people who were successful on Udemy, what they were doing. I also started looking at it as more of a sale to make my courses more appealing to students. So, for example, my course on photography was called something like how to sell photographs to stock agencies. So I changed the headline of that to something that was approximately, these companies want your photographs, learn how from this course, something of that sort of thing. So my earnings went from 703 in January this year. In February, they went to 5,303. An extremely happy sausage, as you can imagine, because 5,303, even dollars, was a nice income for the month, bearing in mind I'd done basically only a few days' work. I then started to take a little bit serious. I can see that earning coming in a month, $1,200 a week, $150 a day is quite nice for a passive income. What can I do to increase it again? And I looked around at what the courses were, what was selling, what wasn't. And I thought, well, I have a YouTube channel, and I make good money on that. I make a couple of grand a month on YouTube, but I do it. I don't do any filming, although I'm a professional cameraman, TV, all those sort of things. I don't do any filming. I use Create, and I make a couple of grand a month. I actually run a television channel on YouTube about North Korea, and lots of people think it's a real North Korean television channel. So I added a new course on how I make $2,000 a month from YouTube, did some good stuff on that, and my March earnings were $15,659. So I went from 700 in Jan, 5,300 in Feb, 15,000 in March.
I would have
Just
loved
answer the
to.
question briefly, or would you like me to?
I was just saying, I would have loved to have seen your face, like when you first checked that, and it went from like 70 or 700 and whatever dollars to like 5,000. Oh, whoa!
They made a mistake. They're putting money in my account. Wow.
What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I like about that is that we're showing these newer instructors out there who come on, to like the Udemy Studio group, and they want to know everything, that there is to begin with and all of that, and, to know that you might only start off at 35 cents, and, it just takes, I think, a lot of persistence and things like this where, like for myself, learning from what you guys have done and applying myself and staying focused. I know that through Grant and through Rob, some cross-promotion stuff, even though Udemy frowns on that now, there are ways to go around that. We'll talk about in a little bit about Rob. I know that you sent out a message earlier that you made in a few days this month $1,000, and we'll talk about a little bit about how you did that. Let's go on and we'll move to Matt and then to Rob real quick on what you made the first month, and then we'll move on to some more questions.
Yeah, so January 2014, I was lucky enough to be featured in the $10 deal, like I already mentioned, and I grossed over $1,400 in profit. And I think a lot of that had to do with the core subject that I was teaching about selling on eBay and drop shipping, so it doesn't require any money up front for inventory, and it's a very low cost upfront business. And I guess I got lucky and there's a demand for it on Udemy because I kind of went through certain ways to validate my course using Amazon and to see the Amazon bestseller for ebooks. And I've learned that the top 20,000 best-selling Amazon books usually sell for about 5 copies a day. So I thought that was a good start. I used Google Keyword Planner to see how many people were searching selling on eBay video course and things like that. So I think the course subject, there are ways to validate that, to prove that it would be a good course to teach on Udemy. And I was lucky enough for Udemy to get behind that for me. So.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and we'll switch gears here just for a moment before we ask Rob about his first month, because one of the questions that I had for you, Matt, is that, and maybe it happens to come from the fact that the first month there that you had that promotion that they put you in. I've noticed that your courses that you typically price them around $10, which makes them very affordable for the amount of information that you're delivering. But I'm wondering if you've experimented with going higher, let's say like maybe, $17, because if you think about something like that, by going from 10 to 17, then you get that average price or whatever up there. So have you done anything like that? Do you see that like increasing your prices affects your enrollment on your courses?
Yeah, so I actually just increased my prices to $19, and I found that it actually converted 16% better than having the $10 sales. So not only did I make more sales pricing my course at $19, I also made more money per sale. So I think, and I know Alun Hill did his own tests for $10, $19, and $29, and I think you found the same results, that $19 was the best as well. So that, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going to say my best-selling prices is when they do a $19 offer. $10 when they do an offer, I don't sell as many. 19, I sell a lot more, ignoring the difference in income purely in terms of the actual sales price. $19 is without a doubt the best price. And remember, my courses do sell for up to $4.99, and I get sales at $4.99, but I get sales. The majority of the sales, if you think of a bell curve or whatever, come in at 19 without a doubt.
And I don't know if a lot of if other people do this or not, but I also tested. I usually featured all my courses. I have 6 paid courses, and I would send out an email just saying, the title of the course, the subtitle, and to buy it for $19. And I actually found that if you promote one course at a time, you actually sell it a lot better if you just have the sales description and say just like enroll now and don't even mention the price. And I found that actually I make a lot more money just promoting one course at a time rather than all of my courses at a time.
Yeah, I think that if you do that, then you start to confuse people because there's too many options that they have. Instead, like maybe just give them, 1 or 2 courses that they have to pick from. Rob, go ahead and let us know like your first month, and then we'll talk about what you did the first part of this month to get that $1,000 in income, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I got it up here. So my first month was March 2013, and it was $272. And the next month I did quite well because the lady I mentioned earlier, Tara Roskell, she cross-promoted me, which we're not allowed to do anymore, but that was $900. And then the month after that it was 300, back down to 300, then it was 400, 700, and then sort of half the way through 2013 I was starting to make 1,000 a month. And it's quite funny, I wrote a Kindle book called How to, because I thought that was great. I mean, I've been blogging for years and I was never making $1,000 a month passive income until then. And so I wrote this book called How to Sell Video Courses, How I Make $1,000 a Month. Well, of course, I had to rename the bloody book at the end of that year because I was making $1,000 a month. And now I'm making over $5,000 a month in the last 4 months, only in the last 4 months, through Udemy and SkillFeed. But I've given up renaming the books. It just takes so much time sorting it out.
So I got this email. So you talk about that you do blogging, and I follow your blog. I think I think everybody should follow his blog because he's got a lot of great inspirational stuff contained in his blog, and so a lot of his stuff I follow. And one of those that you wrote is that you made $1,000 within the first few days of this month. And it's very easy for somebody to do. Now, you do need to have more than one course typically to be able to do this, but will you explain the promotional message that you sent out and how you do that?
Yeah, in Udemy, you can send promotional messages to people that are on your paid courses, only on your paid courses. And typically you don't get huge numbers on your paid courses, but one of the things you can do is put a course out for free and get thousands of people on it, and there's ways that other people know better than me how to do that. But at some stage when you get, I don't know, 5,000 to 10,000 people on the course, you can then make it a paid course. Maybe you'd want to put some extra videos in, put some extra value into it to make it a paid course, and of course make sure it's not all on YouTube and is free elsewhere, because that's not allowed either. But then you can promote to all of those thousands of people through the Udemy announcement system, and it's extremely powerful. You can send an announcement on Udemy, but it ends up being a email that hits people's inboxes, and you can have images in there, and you can have a very attractive offer. So here is this course. It's on at $99. I'm offering it to you for $19 for the next week only. And you can follow that up with another email just to say it's running out of time. And so many people will take you up on that offer, and you get 97% of what they pay. So if I think there's a benefit to getting numbers in your courses for free at first, and it's worked for me.
Yeah, I did that last month. I tried it with $3 because I just wanted to do some testing on one of the courses, because I have two courses, so and they're kind of related to each other. So I sent a message out to the students on the other course and saw some good response from that. I mean, if I would have had it at $19, I would have made a lot more money. But I mean, sometimes you have to experiment just to see what works, and so now I know what works, and I can go back and do it again at a different price point. And I think you're allowed 2 times a month to do that, so you want to be very wise on how you use that. I was thinking about maybe, towards the end of the month and then into the next month, so that you can kind of hit, maybe 3 or 4 times or something like that. But let's talk about one of the things that I wanted to ask everyone is, and then we'll talk to Grant about what he does, is what do you think, and we'll start with Alun on this one, what do you think it takes to be a successful instructor on Udemy.com? What are some of the elements that you think people have to have?
To me, it's really, really simple, and I batter this away in the Udemy Facebook studio from time to time. And it's down to marketing. Your course title, what's in it for the student? What's the benefit for the student? What will the student gain from taking the course? Will they get a better job? Will they learn a better skill? Will they have some fun? Will they learn how to paint? Will they make more money? If your headline doesn't have a benefit for the student, the chances of it selling are low indeed. You can rewrite any course title to include a benefit, and it doesn't matter what the course is about. And I've proven this many times. People say to me, well, I couldn't do that on my course. So, well, if you're doing a course and the student is going to gain nothing, then nobody's going to take your course. There must be a reason for them taking the course, and if there's a reason for taking the course, put that in your headline. And that's like any advertising in marketing. You need a good, clear title, and the same goes for the subheading. In marketing, your headline has one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to make people read your next paragraph, which in Udemy case is the subtitle, which is a little bit bigger, and the sole purpose description. So they have to go to your course, read the description. And the first paragraph of your description must make people read the second paragraph, and the second paragraph of your description, and so on. So you take people on a roller coaster not with, I don't use tons of adjectives and awesomes and I'm so stoked and all this thing, because I'm British and we don't do that thing, but I explain to people what they'll gain from the course. I also tell them very, very quickly at the early part of the course, don't take circumstances. So, for example, on a course on making money on Amazon, I make it quite clear this is no get-rich course. If you're looking for a get-rich, want you, if you're willing to do work and do this and this and this, then your results can be this and this, and I will help you, I'll write your descriptions, I will do all these things. So I'm constantly testing headlines, titles, descriptions, bios, lecture titles, and so on. And sometimes a little change can make an enormous difference. Sometimes that difference reduces your income by half. Month to month has happened to me earlier this year, only a few weeks ago. But if you don't test things, you don't know. But the one secret, if I had to say, is that headline must have something there that will appeal to a potential student and say, hey, that appeals to me, that's because. And that's the simplest thing. I've done other tests and experiments which I'll have to go through with you. But the headline, I think what happens, most people spend days, weeks, months producing the course. I've got to choose a headline, and it's the last minute. If I press the review button, I can send it. I can choose the URL, I can choose the headline at the last minute, and they don't think any more about it. And you see courses like learn about Excel, learn how to paint. Use Excel and get a better job has got to be a better title. Learn how to paint and enjoy your leisure time. There's always a benefit that you can put into a headline. If you go through Udemy and look at the courses, and you can't always tell which have had sales in terms of people paying for which haven't, but you can often work out which ones have and watch it time and time again. Those courses that have a benefit in the title are definitely the ones that are creating the most money. And it's just so easy to do, and most people don't do it.
Yeah, cool, awesome, good information. Grant, talk about what you think that it takes to make a good instructor, and then give us a little bit of background on what you do as far as consulting. I know that you and I had a conversation about a week or two ago, and I really appreciate the the information that you gave me. So go ahead and talk about that a little.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say I agree 100% with everything Alun just said. That's so true. People tend to, yeah, like I see the exact same thing. People invest a lot of time in making a course, and then they publish it as fast as possible, and everything that's not directly like the content is just like haphazardly put together. The title, the image, the course description, everything. It's just like, whatever, I want to get it done. That's like the worst thing you can do. It's actually, it's probably more important to spend more time on the marketing, the promotional side of things, and like the title and all that stuff. Probably like invest more time in that. Like even if you have to take it away from the content, it's actually that important, because people don't even see the content until they've bought the course. So if you don't have that component in place, they're never going to buy your course. They'll never actually see your awesome content. It doesn't matter how awesome it really is. So you have to have that marketing side of things there. So to kind of quickly go through the way it works with what I do with clients. So I start with people in two different situations. Some people don't actually have a course yet. Some people currently have a course, but it's not making money. So for the first situation, people are trying to make a course. They want to make a course. They have an idea, but there's just something missing. They're not confident enough to go through the entire process. They're like, how do I know this is going to work? Or there's some technical thing that they're not sure about. And so basically I work them through like the best practices of making a really, really good course, but also keeping in mind that like that important component of marketing. So like another common issue people have is a lot of people have really, really bad sales videos. And one of the things Udemy is testing, or at least has recently been testing, is the greater emphasis on the sales video. And if you have a really, really bad sales video, and that's what everybody's watching, obviously they're not going to buy your course, even if it's a really, really good course. So skimping on those types of details can kill your sales and will never let anybody actually benefit from your course. So there's a variety of things like that you want to really keep in mind as you're creating the course and make them as excellent as possible. There's lots of little tricks that you kind of figure out slowly on your own, like that I know, that I'm sure you guys know, different things that it's kind of like a best practice to do, like enable free preview on several of your lectures. A lot of people forget about that. Having PDF downloadable versions of your slides for screencasted courses. Like there's all these little details that some people might like have heard or read in passing, but they forget all of them when they actually publish their course. So that's one of the things I do is So I kind of coach people through the content creation phase. I review each step of the way, like their first video, like their sales video, their slides, etc., and make sure they're on track and they're not making any huge mistakes, because there's like a series of really common mistakes people make there as well. And then once the course is live, going through like a huge crazy checklist of like, okay, did you forget this? Did you skip on this? Et cetera, et cetera. Like, what's a really good title for it? I actually go through and personally write their sales page, because like whenever they do it themselves, it typically is not very good, because it's one of those things that it's hard to know how to do correctly unless you have a really extensive background in copywriting or marketing or something like that. So I go through, I do that myself, and then we go through this a launch phase, kind of like what Rob said. Actually, I don't do the free to paid thing, though. That's a really good idea. I'm probably going to start testing that out to see if that works better. But there's a series of steps you want to go through, and I think we're all familiar with at least the major ones of free students, getting reviews, cross promotions with your own courses, things like that. And kind of what I mentioned in my initial story about being on Udemy originally is like there's lots of variables in creating and marketing an online course. There's too many variables if you're doing it externally, but there's still a whole lot of variables, a whole lot of things you got to remember and deal with, even if you're on Udemy. And I know, like, probably when we talk about Udemy, when Udemy talks about Udemy, when you see stuff about Udemy, it's kind of marketed as being very, very simple. And it's true that it's much simpler than any alternative that I know of, but it's still kind of complicated. There's a lot of things a lot of people forget. There's a lot of mistakes to be made. So I guess that I want to have people keep that in mind if they watch this. That like it's easier, but it's still a little bit difficult. And don't feel bad if you're not doing well right now. There's a learning curve associated with it. Most people don't do well in the first like at least 3 months. Is what I find is about the rough time to do well. Although Matt's, I guess, is the exception. But yeah, that's a quick rundown of what I would suggest to people.
Yeah, I think that those are some great ideas. Now, you mentioned a checklist. Do you actually have something out there where people can download maybe a checklist, or do you guys know of if Udemy has a checklist of things like that to remember?
I've seen some other people who put together certain versions of that, but it's never one that I liked well enough to use myself. So I actually use a Trello board just to manage the actual workflow of completing it. But that's actually a good idea. Maybe I'll if somebody emails me, I can send that to them in a PDF or something.
I think it would be a great idea for you. One of the things that I know, just to kind of establish myself, is that I put together this course promotion checklist, because we talked about some offering some free coupons and stuff like that, and those different sites that are out there, like Best Black Hat Forum, where you can put out the free coupons, and then there are other websites where you can put out your discounted coupons. So I came up with a list of all of the different places online, and then also the groups on Facebook that allow you to post your courses. And I know that Rob is also very active in putting information on his book and his courses out there on those groups. So I think that those are the kind of things that help new students, is just a list of things like, did I do this? Did I do this? So that might be a good idea for you. Matt, what do you think that it takes to, some of the things to be a good instructor on Udemy?
Validating your core subject and finding out if there are already people already buying the core subjects that you're wanting to teach about. Making sure that your course stays relevant for the next 3 to 5 years, so you don't have to keep updating everything. Making sure that your courses can reach the potential of worldwide. So I know my eBay course, it was my experiences in the US, and it kind of makes it very hard to sell it internationally, because I think 20% of Udemy students are from India, and people from India couldn't necessarily use my course. And a course like Alun's course about YouTube, everyone in the world can learn and use that course. So if your course can have an international reach, then that's great too. Let's see. I think creating a ton of courses too. I just partnered with my friend who has his master's in organizational psychology, works at HR in IBM, and we plan on creating 50 courses this year, and the reach that he has, he knows we have totally different backgrounds. I'm the guy who likes low upfront costs. Anyone can do this. And then he's a psychology guy and a lot of hypnosis. So we made a course, Conquering Stress with Hypnosis, True Confidence with Hypnosis, and he's coming out with some HR courses that we could potentially sell to organizations and making sales in bulk. So the potential and all the other things that Udemy offers, and I mean, because I don't know how well Udemy for organizations is, but I know from my eBay business that selling in bulk just is amazing because you get to affect so many people's lives, and it's that extra money that you're selling, 10 or 100 courses at once. And I think the whole concept of Udemy, where you can reach people in India where they have a caste system and 800 million people aren't really allowed to go to college and they're tied to farming. It's just an amazing thing that we're doing, and we're spreading our knowledge and helping people improve their lives, and that's one of the huge things about Udemy that I really love about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not only worldwide, but even here in, like the United States, I live in Idaho, which the area that I live in is the most populated area of the state, but it's only 1.6 million, whereas, when I lived in a place like Seattle, that area is several million, and then you go into New York or whatever. It allows people out in the middle of nowhere or any country to be able to educate themselves, to be able to have a better life, and connecting with people online like I have from other countries, and to hear stories. I mean, Alun was talking about the unemployment rate for younger people in Spain. It's like that in a lot of countries in Europe, and we think, that our unemployment rate is high, but it's nothing compared to the rest of the world. And the things like Udemy and affordable computers and broadband connections allow people anywhere to start educating themselves to have a better life. So that's what I think is cool about teaching this stuff. So we'll finish this question with Rob and get some information from him. We're just almost 15 after the hour, and I know we started a little bit late. Do you guys have a problem with going just a little bit longer with today's discussion? You guys good? Okay. Go ahead, Rob, and let us know what you think that it takes to be a good instructor.
Well, the first thing I would say would be to persevere with it. I think a mistake would be to lock yourself up in an attic and work on the best video course you could do in isolation for 6 months, and then put it out there with no feedback from anyone, and dump it on Udemy and expect something to happen. I think it's an ongoing process. But I would add to that I'm very interested in growing a brand, and I have been blogging since 2006, and I see Udemy as a kind of lead generation arm for that brand, and because there's so many other opportunities out there for us to create content, reach people, help people, and get financial benefit from that. So what happened with me, I'm slightly different to what the other guys are saying, is that because I'm a kind of 80% content, 20% marketing kind of guy, because I blogged and continue to blog, I find out I get the awesome research, the market research from the blog, because some blog posts do well and some blog posts do badly, and you learn all about the headlines and what Alun was talking about, the value to the customer, the what you can give to the customer through the headline and in the content. I picked it up all through blogging. So, for example, my most successful course is called Running a Web Design Business, And I used to write about all sorts of things on my blog, including running a graphic design business. And I found out through Google and obviously you can use Google Keyword Planner tool, that running a web design business is that much, people are much more interested in it. Loads of people can do it. Loads of people can be a web designer from home. Not everyone thinks that they could be a graphic designer from home. They could, but they just don't think they can. So I knew that that title was going to sell well on Udemy because it did so well on my blog. So I'm a big fan of blogging, YouTube, putting out content all the time because it teaches you so much about your audience. And you can, every platform's different, I know, but that's how I've come into it, because I'm not too into looking at figures and spreadsheets and stuff like that. I'm not very good at that.
Yeah, that my mom was a financial analyst, and I hate accounting and stuff like that. I would rather have somebody on Fiverr.com look at that stuff for me. But so thanks, guys.
The last two guys had great points, and it made me think of something that I wrote down. I forgot to say. So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's two mistakes that I've seen people make over and over again in talking to different people about their courses, and I just wanted to share those, just like to hopefully prevent other people from making similar mistakes. So, and it's kind of related to, that's why it jogged my memory, what you guys have been saying about validating the idea, about basically, don't look at Udemy and think this. What course do I want to make? What do I enjoy talking about? What do I want to make? Because like Udemy doesn't care what you want to make, to be honest. Like, I'll be very blunt. Like, the market wants what the market wants, and you might want what you want. They're not the same thing. They're very different things. But most people make that mistake. They think about what they want to make a course about rather than what the market wants them to make a course about. So that's the first thing. Just check yourself. If you're making your course right now, check yourself if that's what you're doing, if that's how you picked your topic, because that's honestly, unfortunately, it'd be nice if we could do it that way, but unfortunately, that's not the best way to pick your topic. Another common mistake is people think about their course topics similarly to like a niche blog. Like, they think about some really popular topic, and then they try and get really, 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 really specific, and oftentimes far too specific. Because in reality, this is a marketplace. You're not some independent blog where you're going to be networking with other forums and communities that are related to yours. Chances are you're going to try and rely on the organic side of Udemy to power a lot of your sales, and that's one of the benefits of Udemy. But the issue is, if you get too specific, you lose the efficacy of that factor. So just a word of warning is avoid making a course based on what you want, and also try not to fall into that trap of thinking about a Udemy course similarly to like a niche website, because it's not. It should be much more widely appealing than that, although it shouldn't be super general, because it also still runs into similar issues as like just another just another book or a course or whatever on Facebook ads. Like, there's a million of those, but you also don't want to do Facebook ads for yoga teachers over the age of 60, because obviously nobody's going to buy that course. So anyways, two issues. Like, hopefully that helps people. They might sound obvious, but a lot of people kind of fall into that trap without realizing it, so hopefully that's helpful as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Grant. I appreciate that. Let's talk about some of the things that you guys do to promote your course, like, once it's done, because I mean, we talked about some of the things, you know, to be a good instructor on udemy.com, and I think that they, you know, relate to the topic of today's discussion, which is increasing your revenue, things that you can do, like, you know, the right equipment and stuff like that. I don't know if we'll have enough time to talk about some of that stuff, and I know that stuff gets talked about a lot on the Udemy Studio group. So if you're watching this and you're new to Udemy, definitely jump on Facebook and search for Udemy Studio and join that group. You'll find these guys and myself in there, along with, I think it's over 21,000 other people. But let's move on and talk about some tips that we can give people on places to market their courses. I know that Matt, that I've seen that you promote your courses on your website. Rob does the same thing. I'm kind of doing that myself, although I need to do a better job. So let's start with Alun first because he's Mr. Moneymaker. So, what can you suggest?
So you want to know how to make all this money, yes? I'm happy to tell you, but nobody believes me. With one minor exception, many months ago, I have done no outside marketing whatsoever. I've done no blogging, no advertising, no Facebook, no Google ads, no writing. I can't think of anything apart. I always have this one disclaimer. There's a YouTube forum, and I took an $18 advert in there roughly 6 months ago. Could have been longer, and put a coupon in there, which is actually still in there. And with that exception, I have done no marketing at all. People argue with me, yes, you are marketing, because every time you comment in the Udemy Studio, for example, you market to people in the Udemy Studio, not necessarily my targeted students. So I'm not sure that I do, but I help people in there. I get very frustrated in there at times. It may not come across, hopefully, but occasionally I'm like tearing out the rest of my hair. I've done no marketing whatsoever. It's due for a cut as well. I get charged a search fee these days when I go to the hairdressers. Just slip that in, sorry. Big laugh. No, right. But what I do is I'm constantly TIO my lectures, my descriptions, my videos. I've done a massive test last month on the graphic that as accompanies your courses. You may know, in the past you could have a graphic and your title of your course, and the graphic would normally have wording and things on what your course was about. And Udemy have decided that you can't have wording on there anymore. Lots of people still have them because the courses respectively take a long time to change. But one of the reasons for that, when they're advertising on Facebook and so on, or you're looking on a small screen, you can't see the text. So I did some changes last month, which you can view as some very nice graphics with great descriptions, great titles. A lot of work went into a lot of them. It's very simple graphics, and I vastly increased my sales. It made a huge difference by removing text from some of my courses. I did it on some and not others. Yes, last month was for allowing pro rata. It really worked, and I was quite shocked about that. A lot of people in the Udemy Studio on Facebook were like, this can't work, this is wrong, this is wrong. My answer all the time is just test. I have done no outside marketing at all. I rely on the search engines, Google and such like, and so on. You may know I've got YouTube. I don't even mention my courses on YouTube.
I've seen your YouTube channel. I've seen your YouTube channel, and of course you've got your courses on how to make money on YouTube. But I think I agree with you that if you participate like you do in the groups, and I started a group on promotion and marketing to help instructors out there, learn other ways that they can promote their courses, that by just participating, that people get curious about what you're doing and are willing to take your course to see what you're teaching. And I think it was your course that was one of the first courses, or maybe it was Matt and then yours, that I actually purchased. Not at full price, but it's just like after a while I just start thinking to myself, okay, $10 or $19 or whatever is not much when you consider like what you get out of that. And sometimes it's frustrating when I see people. I had somebody send me a message asking for a free coupon in exchange for a review of my course, and I'm just like, something just doesn't seem right with that. But I think that like the money that you pay for a course, that you get more out of it in the information. Like Matt's course, for $10, I think I've got way more out of that than $10. People don't realize that how much a college course at a university costs. I mean, it can be hundreds of dollars to take a course, if not more. And then when you throw in the books, you got to take out a loan to take a course sometimes. So let's move on to Grant, and ask you, like,
Can
what's
I,
the thing? Yeah, go ahead.
you made a mistake on something. I just need to clear up, just for
Yeah.
clarity. I have some training videos on YouTube, but they're just very old private label rights that I put up there as an experiment 2 or 3 years ago. So they're not Udemy courses. I don't promote them. I haven't even looked at them, couldn't tell you on there, but they're several years old, and they're not my courses. They're just PLR, so they're not mine.
Okay. Yeah, I saw your North Korea channel is what I took a look
That's
at.
what I need to look at. Yes.
Yeah. So Grant, what do you suggest? Like, what are some of the places where you think that people should promote their courses?
Yeah, so through my time on Udemy, through my year, I've tried pretty much everything you possibly can, from like Facebook ads to external emails, cross promotions when they were allowed, just optimizing the courses, forums, Reddit, Facebook groups, like literally everything I think that's ever been suggested, that's at least commonly suggested. And so I guess some common things that work, although it always depends on the topic, for one, and then two, what sort of resources the person has. So for example, one of the courses I'm currently working on, emails to his own list, because he has a really good list. It's like $6,000 of sales on the one course, like pretty quickly. That's awesome. A lot of people don't have that though, but obviously if you do have some kind of list or relevant blog, some website with traffic, maybe you're a very active member in a yoga community or like yoga forum, and you have a yoga course. Obviously, those are very relevant places to promote your course, and there's very tactful ways to do that as well, like helping people and then giving a discount code, things like that. But that can work really, really well. It just kind of depends again on the topic and kind of what you've got. Because if you have that email list, or if you don't, like. Another thing a lot of people actually ask me about is, should I build a website around my Udemy course? And the answer I would give to that would be no, don't do that at all. It's way too much work, and the ROI is way too low. If you have it, you want to use it. If you don't have it, don't worry about it unless you're doing it for fun or for other purposes. Let's see. Beyond that, there's also, I think you mentioned this briefly, there's also a bazillion free and paid coupon sites. I wouldn't say those work consistently. The free ones obviously work, like, because everybody's going to jump on something that's free. The paid coupon sites, I do regularly submit coupons to those, and I find sometimes it works, but it's not a consistent thing. So there's some ways to do it where you get it kind of just like spread through the internet, and then it starts getting picked up by affiliates, and it just kind of gets out there, and in kind of a nebulous way that sometimes sparks some sales. But again, it's not consistent, and some people might, I don't know, so I guess some people might find on that, but that's one thing that I do that at least some of the time works pretty consistently. Another thing I do, which isn't, I'll share this, it's not super applicable to other people, it's kind of along the lines of cross-promoting between your own courses. Since I am a co-instructor on all the instructors that I work with, because I'm working on their courses, I'm able to actually do targeted cross-promotions between their courses. And that's something that works really, really well. And it is totally allowed, by the way. Like, I've had phone calls with Udemy just to make sure, even though they kind of recently revised that multiple times. But just like, warranty on that or whatever. Like, I'm not publicly breaking rules or whatever. But yeah, so that works really well. So if there's some way to incorporate that, whether it's making similar courses and incorporating that cross-promotion type email in a legitimate way, that's really awesome. There's also something I've recently been testing, and again, some people might frown this as well, but I find it very effective. If you have trouble getting reviews and you have multiple courses, something that works really, really, really well is to send an educational announcement, so that way you can, like, because you don't need a link, so you can preserve your promotional announcements if you want to use those. Send an educational announcement saying you have another course that's like launching or that is related or what have you, and say anybody who leaves a review or has left a review in the past, I'd like to give you this course for free. Just leave a review or message me if you've already left a review. And that can really easily get dozens of people, like literally dozens of people, within a couple of days leaving reviews for your course. And that's really, really effective if you know you have a good course, you know you have people who really like your course, but they're really hesitant to leave a review, which actually I find is very common. I've had people messaging me, discussions in my classes, where they rave and rave and rave about the course. Sometimes they'll even promise that they're going to leave a review, and then for whatever reason they never do. Just because, I don't know, like, there's no reason for them to, or like there's no incentive, or they forget about it, there's some kind of friction there. So adding that little like perk at the end, like, oh yeah, I was going to leave a review, but now I get a free course too. Awesome. So I find people jump on that, and they really actually are really, really, really happy when they get that. I haven't gotten a single complaint from doing that, and it's allowed for that as well. So that's another idea. Yeah, there's other ways, but those are like some quick ways off the top of my head.
Great, great. Yeah, I think like as far as reviews, I think because of me having a book that I think that sometimes people are scared or whatever, that they don't really know how to write a review, and it doesn't have to be something too complicated. It can just be something very simple and a few words, and people forget how powerful a review is in getting someone who's looking maybe at your landing page to go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and pay the $99 for this course because it looks good, and the people who have taken this course have said that it's good information, and I really think that that helps sell a course. The other thing that you said that I firmly believe in is email marketing. The money is in the list, is the saying. And Facebook, I've been on Facebook since 2007, and I've seen the engagement rate go down to next to nothing because Facebook wants you to advertise in order to get your message out, and that's understandable because their investors want them to make money, but it makes it difficult for somebody to get their message out on something like Facebook, where email is still popular. People still open their email. I mean, that's the first thing that I do with my cup of coffee, and sometimes it's junk mail. A lot of times it's good information that helps me develop as a person. That's one of the courses that I teach is MailChimp, because MailChimp, I think, is a good way to start out with email marketing, and I would tell any instructor out there to get MailChimp. Their free forever plan lets you have up to 2,000 subscribers and send out 12,000 messages a month without giving them your credit card information, and that way, if you're not really doing much, then you're not getting charged $10 a month and losing money. It's free. And I think that that's a great way to do cross promotions with other instructors, because you can talk to other instructors where you might have courses that'll complement each other, and you can say, hey, do you have a mailing list? And a lot of times that mailing list might be people who are taking the course, because there are ways that you can get around things and get email addresses, because if people are willing to give you their email address, then they trust you and they like the information that you put out. So definitely an email list. And so, Matt, what do you think are some good ways to market your course?
Exactly what Grant said. Who is your customer and where can I find them? So for my eBay courses, I'd go to Facebook groups, for the selling on eBay groups, which works out. Free coupon websites. Just give your course away for free, because if you're just starting out, nobody knows who you are. You want to build credibility. You want to get people to trust you more, because who are you more likely to give $20 to, a total stranger or one of your closer friends? And that's just, you want to build credibility for yourself, and giving your course away for free is probably the easiest way to build credibility. And then where creating multiple courses would come in would be sending out Udemy promotional emails. I send out 2 promotional emails per month, and last month was the first time I had very good success with it. I made $2,300 profit, and so far this month I'm almost at $1,000 profit with 1 promotional email for each of my paid courses. And I feel like the more courses you create and the more proof that you could add and actually have lived the life to all the courses that you've created and actually adding value to people, give, and then when you want to take, give even more value and try to not burn out your students, then I feel like you have the most success. And I'm trying to go towards what Alun's doing, because he's creating discussions, actually getting people engaged much better than I am, and Udemy is a much better marketer than I am, so trying to get Udemy behind you as much as you can and set yourself up for success that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And you know that they see that your courses are moving, that you're getting students and stuff like that, and I think that they're more willing to help you out when they see that type of proof. And I agree with like the free, giving it out for free, because that's what we call social proof. And it's like I might have a book out that sold 1,000 copies, but nobody knows me from anyone else on Udemy when I first started, and so that's why I went into the groups and try to join the conversation so people are aware of who I am. And then, boy, I lost my train of thought there, but a lot of the people that you give the courses out to free probably aren't going to buy your course to begin with, so I don't think that it hurts giving it out free to a point. My biggest frustration is when I see somebody come into one of the groups and they're like, my course is free, and then they give 100 coupons or whatever, and for me, I don't limit that. I'm just going to give it out. I want to build a good relationship, especially with the instructors that are in that group. If I piss people off because I didn't give enough coupons and they missed out, then you're losing a lot of potential, I think. So, Rob, I know where you promote your courses, and I think it's a great idea. I see it a lot in your books. So talk about that, and because you have a lot of Kindle books out, and I have one out, and I think that's a great way to start tying that stuff together. So go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it does work, Dennis. Although I got to add to that now and for the last few months, I have actually stopped promoting my Udemy courses 100%. I actually do nothing now. And the reason is quite simple, is because I'm selling my courses from my own website. And as Alun said, as we've all said, Udemy is a great market. They know their stuff. They know how to sell courses. If you can show them that you can sell courses at the beginning, then you're just going to go on a trajectory. At least that's how it's happened for me. So at the beginning, I have a list, and that's the other classic thing that everyone's been saying. The money is in the list, and I sold my courses. I just that was probably how I made my first $300 that month. And it's probably the next month actually where I sold it to my list. It was probably more than $300 because if you collect email addresses from a website, then people will definitely buy from you, because there's only one reason they've given you their email address, and that is because they want your stuff. They think you give them value, so they'll be up for paying for it all day long. So yes, now that I have I'm selling my courses from my own site. At the end of the Kindles, I put people towards my own site, but I used to put them towards the Udemy courses, and they sold very well in Kindles. It's a natural thing. You spent an hour reading someone's words about a certain topic, and you like them. You're going to buy the video course if you're the sort of person who likes video courses. So it makes a hell of a lot of sense to write Kindles. It's a great brand builder. It's a great builder of authority and trust, and you can sell things on the back of it, and you can get people onto your email list as well through Kindles. Udemy as well. I mean, Udemy I view in the same way as Kindle. It gets people onto your list, gets people aware of your brand, as well as it makes you money.
Yeah, it's just like you said, it's another avenue out there, because I think maybe it might have been something that I saw from you, that when you think about Udemy and even Kindle, when you think a company as large as, it's like, I lived in Seattle in the 90s, and I remember like when Amazon just started, and now where it's gone. You go back to Seattle, and there's huge high-rises that are the headquarters of Amazon. But it's not huge in the perspective of everything else out there, like the internet or whatever. And so Kindle and Udemy, there's so much more potential out there. And you can still, if you get your foot in the door right now with Udemy or Kindle or whatever, and if you only get like a small slice of the pie, you can still make a very lucrative income and living. So with that said, because we're running short on time here, and I don't want to keep you guys over too long. I want to just go ahead and have everybody go through and give like maybe just your advice, something that you would like to get out there that maybe we haven't talked about yet, and then we'll let everyone know where they can get a hold of us. So let's start with Alun.
Just going through my notes, anything particular I wanted to say? No, I think to a certain extent, reiterating what I've done, if you do marketing, are capable of that and doing it, then you can obviously make more sales, and it's something I need to look to doing. But getting your course right, and as we've heard already, getting your title, getting your description, getting your bios, getting those right, but testing. You have to give a simple one-word solution, test a headline, and don't worry if it crashes. I was just trying to call the figures up a second ago, but I did, in August, I did $28,000, so a good month. I did a lot of tests later, and it said most people 15,000 would be good. But if I haven't done those tests, I know now which titles work, which ones don't. So dropping 28,000 to 15,000 was scary, but I knew that the titles I'd done in the $28,000 earnings month were correct. So testing. I'm constantly testing, just change one thing at a time, and don't be afraid to fail. If you fail, that means that what you've got there already is better, but test again. There's always various ways of writing your title, description, bio, and so on.
Awesome. Thank you. Grant. Mr. Tourism.
I was waiting. We made it all the way to the end. But anyways, so yeah, I think the only thing that I have left to say is just because this is something that every time I've sat through a webinar like hosted by somebody else on something I wanted to learn, like we're sort of positioned as experts, and I think we have a lot of value, a lot of experience and advice to give that's really, really valuable. That being said, there's I forgot the term for it. It's called like the guru fallacy or something, where what we're saying that's been successful for us may not necessarily directly translate perfectly to everybody who's listening to it. So the point of that is, so if you try, say you go through this webinar and you write down every single suggestion and you try everything, and it's the results are very ambiguous, maybe some of it doesn't work very well. That doesn't necessarily mean you're failing, or that doesn't mean you can't be successful on Udemy. Just keep in mind that there's so many variables that go into success on any platform, on any project, and there's inevitably like an X factor that if you just keep at it, if you keep going, if you keep doing the right things, keep trying new things, keep testing, as Alun said, that's a really key factor as well. You'll be successful. It's pretty much inevitable. So yeah, that's I guess my parting comment.
Thank you. That's some good advice. Never give up. Matt.
For people just starting, I think you should just throw yourself in, act as if you know what you're doing, and then adjust course along the way when you've actually gained valuable experience selling on Udemy. And a quote that really drove home for me a year ago was, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, then you release it too late. Because a lot of the feedback and a lot of the improvements that you can make are from your actual students, and always just constantly improving your course, and just throw yourself in, act as if, and adjust course along the way.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. One of the things that I need to do better at is going into the discussions more, and so you're interacting more with your students, and I think that when you do that, that's where you build those long-term relationships with individuals who, like Rob was saying, that when you release something, they're going to be the first ones to buy. You don't have to give them something free. They're ready. They know you. So, Rob, what would you like to end on as far as advice?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would just reiterate what everyone else was saying, because I think it's so important in online business generally to be consistent, and that's with blogging, email marketing, and Udemy courses, YouTube, Kindles, everything. Nobody's ever going to be great for their first course. As soon as you finish the first course, start your second course. That would be my advice, and just keep going, because you'll become better at it. Your courses will be better. You'll be quicker at the course creation process, so it won't take so much out of you, and you're more likely to do better because one of them's going to hit. One of them's going to be a hit. It's just the law of averages will be on your side. So just keep at it. And I would just reiterate what everyone else has been saying. Don't be afraid to fail. And I love what Grant was saying. We're not the experts, because 2 years ago, and if we had us on a panel about Udemy, we'd have been rubbish.
Yeah, well, I'm still like new into the process, so I'm still learning. But that's what I like to do is learn and help get across what I've learned to other people who are maybe just starting or struggling. So let's go ahead and end with where people can find us online, whether it be a website or your Udemy profile and email address. Let's go ahead and start with Alun.
Okay. My online presences are more for my journalism side, but on Udemy, I'm Alun Hill, ALUNHILL. At the moment, there's 9 courses on there, and anybody can contact me through any of the courses.
Awesome. I know that you're very helpful on the Udemy Studio group too, and again, I just want to let people know that that's a good place to start, and then once you've got your course ready to go, there's the faculty lounge. After you have a course, there's many other groups that are out there too. Grant, how can we find you online? I know that you have a website. I've been there.
Yeah, so I do have a website, but it's actually quite outdated because I prefer to just talk to people. So that's why I've had my email up the entire time. So yeah, if anybody's interested in getting in touch with me, there's my email. I'm hoping you're not too good at promoting this, so I don't get like 10,000 emails. But yeah, I'm usually happy to talk to anybody and offer some advice or see how I can help. And yeah, also I went ahead and quickly made a little bit.ly link to a $10 coupon to my main course. It's got really good reviews. People find it very, very valuable, and you can check that out there. I think I switched my lower thirds. Yes.
Awesome.
So that's.
I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah. So yeah, you can check that out there. It's essentially a productivity course related to neuroscience. So I find it very interesting. It's very, very helpful. Lots of great habits to learn about, just to be more effective as a professional. So there you go, and I'll put it back on my email now. So
good. What I want to do too is, I've talked to a few of you, is that I have the website that I started, onlinecoursecoupons.com, and not only do I have the 2 courses, but I'm doing the affiliate marketing because I want to help other people promote their courses with a nice website. So I'm going to get coupons from you and set up a page specifically that once I get this all out there on the internet, that we can give people a link so that they can go in and know where to go to get your guys' courses. So I'll do that after we're done today. Matt, where's the best? You have a really nice website. I'm really impressed, like how you promote your courses on your website, which I think is lowhustle.com. Low Cost Hustle.
Yes, it was lowcosthustle.com, and I actually took it down because I didn't want to be distracted from my main goal, and I was just thinking, what is the one most important thing? And I think at this time, Udemy is the one most important thing. So I took it down, freed myself of distractions, and I'm going to put it back up when it's the next phase of my master plan. And for right now, people can reach me on udemy.com. Just search Matt Bernstein into the search bar and click on the instructor link.
Awesome.
And people can just message me through there.
All right. Rob.
Yeah, I'm robcubbon.com, and in Udemy I'm Rob Cubbon, and you can email me at rob@robcubbon.com, or you can message me via Udemy. I'd love to hear from you.
Great, great. And my website, my main website is dennisjsmith.com, but as they call it, a shameless plug, onlinecoursecoupons.com is my latest project, and my goal is to get courses out there and help instructors get their courses promoted. And I've seen some success. The website's only been up for a month, and the traffic on there, I think, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but about 1,000 visits a month so far. And I aim to increase that because I want to help. My goal in life, I think that we're put here on this planet to help others be successful and help others around the globe have a much more comfortable and better life. And I know that connecting with you guys, that you guys have that same kind of goal in your life, helping people live a better life. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and we'll get this up online once I'm done. I need to go take a coffee break first, so I'm going to do that. But I'll be in touch with you, and I just want to say thank you very much. So that's going to be it for today.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, thanks for sorting it out, man. Cheers.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, guys. Have a great day.
You
Cheers,
too.
guys.